Dispatch number 5. Once upon a moon dragon. Bertrand liked the way that prickly Penelope smelled. The sickly sweet fruit with smoky green flesh felt sinfully satisfying on his tongue. Holding up one to his nose, inhaling deeply, he opened his eyes to spy a torrid dust cloud billowing behind the two-legged creatures running towards him. "Do you know why your father let them live?" asked Bertrand. "What made these drifters so special?" It was a bold, somewhat prohibited statement, as one should never question the decisions made by the Mackinac Council. But as Bertrand's eagle eye spied Vaughn in all of his bearded glory, he couldn't help but wonder what logic was applied to making such life or death choices. Bertrand envied Myrna for many things: her beauty, her brilliance, the way that she welcomed guests to the planet with kindness and grace. She was the first face space travelers would see, and the last if Mackinac Council decided that they were assimilated into Mackinac society like every other creature not of Mackinac descent. After all, Bertrand, like Schemas, Inkfellers, Rostelmus, Coinkthings, and Tensflies, had not been assimilated. Not that he'd have ever remember if it though. To Bertrand, Myrna was the best and only friend, and Mackinac was his home. Myrna leaned close to Bertrand, pressing her cheek against his as she whispered in his large, floppy ear. "My father extracted data from their spaceship, Bertie. They know about Nifty and the Legion of Wen. They know about the 10 moods of Ilsendor. They're out here, beyond the Milky Way, to put an end to it all. We can give them what they seek, Bertie. We can be their eyes and ears and guide them. Instead of being their enemy, we can be their ally." Everyone on Mackinac knew of Nifty and the Legion of Wen, and all of the other Elsendor seekers who came before them. It was because of them that the protective shield was installed, and that, by all appearances, Mackinac remained undetected. "They don't look that intelligent," said Bertrand, taking a bite out of his prickly Penelope. "But if you believe, Myrna, then I believe too." "That I do, Bertie. That I do." Myrna took a deep breath, straightened her crown, and stepped beyond the boundary of the Outer's Bazaar as she entered the desert. She could feel the vibrations of the restless moon dragons beneath her feet, trembling with excitement, eager to feast. "Hello," she said, raising her hand. "Welcome to the city of Sagrid. I am Myrna, a member of the Mackinac Council. We wish you no harm." Vaughn huffed and puffed, trying to catch his breath. "You have a weird way of showing it, lady. You crashed our only ride and stranded us here. That's the most messed up welcoming I've ever received." "We know that you have traveled very far in searching for Nifty and the Legion of Wen," said Myrna. "Consider us friends who want to help you prepare for a very turbulent road which lies ahead." "Nifty can wait," panted Vaughn. "We need food, water, and a place to sleep. You know, the essentials. Give us that, and then we'll talk some Nifty." "Yes, of course. Please forgive me. Outer's Bazaar is yours. Please help yourself to whatever you need. Accommodations will be provided for you in Sacred Citadel. There are plenty of beds, I assure you." Captain Brian suspiciously eyed Myrna. She looked too nice to be trusted. "What did you say that you were a part of again?" he asked. "The Mackinac Council," said Myrna. "Did the council decide to crash our vessel?" asked Sean, picking up the same vibe as Brian. "Yes, Commander Sean. All 222 members of the Mackinac Council collectively decided to help you in your mission. The vote was unanimous." "I never told you my name," he quipped. "It's on your jumpsuit," said Myrna, leaving Sean with a wink. "Now, if you'll follow me, come through the Outer's Bazaar, and I'm sure that you'll find something nourishing to eat." "We have more officers on the way," said Arkar. "We should probably wait for them." Myrna stopped abruptly, straightened her posture, and stiflingly turned to Arkar. "They better hurry," she said coldly. "The desert at night could be another world unto itself. I do hope that your colleagues make haste, for their safety, of course." Sean, Captain Brian, Reimer, and Arkar all looked at each other. There was something off about Myrna, but they couldn't put their finger on it. It could have been the way she spoke. Smooth, yet confident, or how they felt like they were hidden meanings behind every single word that they held on to so closely. Either way, they both felt like it was far too dangerous for the rest of them and their team to be out there alone in the desert, more so now than ever as nightfall neared. It was only when Risk, Captain Glorious, and Snazzy started walking towards Oswald's dune did they begin to understand why it took JB and the team so long to reach the top. Distance on Mackinnon was difficult to assess. Everything was continuously further than it seemed. The sun's getting low, said Risk, struggling to take another step. The sand, once loose and airy, felt like cement clinging to his feet. We're almost there, said Snazzy. I think I see JB. Wait, is he napping? I hope he's not dead, said Captain Glorious. If that's the case, this whole situation doesn't feel very promising. Struck by fear, they ran at full speed to the top of the dune. He can't be dead, said Snazzy. They wouldn't have left him behind. Not like this. The higher they climbed, the heavier the sand felt beneath their feet. JB, wake up! Yelled Risk. It took a few seconds for JB to snap out of his slumber. Trapped in his dreams about home, it felt safe and familiar. He hadn't slept that well in quite some time. Little did he know, the vibrations in the sand were to blame. Never underestimate the magic of a moon dragon. Lulling its prey to sleep is just one of its many games. I'm up! I'm up! Said JB, rubbing his eyes. Wow, would you look at that? Said Captain Glorious, seeing the city of Sagrid for the first time. I need to know everything about this colony, the level of the tech here. It's astonishing. Just think about it, everything that we can possibly learn. Snazzy smiled. If there was anyone who could extract the positive vibe out of a dire situation, it was Captain Glorious, one of the few optimistic realists on the team. Every inch of Sagrid was like a child's playground to him. There was so much to uncover, explore, and absorb. JB stood up and brushed his feet away from the sand. It looks like the rest of the team has reached the bazaar. We should join them before it gets too dark. Snazzy looked back at their spaceship and wondered how it all happened. How they found themselves on this planet in the first place, in this desert, and now standing before a majestic city never explored by humankind. Can you believe that we're the first from Earth to make contact with this planet's inhabitants? Said Captain Glorious, rubbing his hands through his dark hair. Is this even happening right now? It's surreal. It's a lot to take in, said Snazzy. I think I'm going to have to hang back and watch the sunset. After everything that we've been through together, I just want a few minutes to soak all this up. Captain Glorious looked at Snazzy. He didn't agree with her decision, but decided to let it go. We better get going, said Risk. You know just as well as most that Vaughn needs at least 4 chaperones. Perched on the top of Oswald's dunes, watching the rest of the team make a haste move towards the bazaar, Snazzy bathed in the fleeting daylight. She had seen countless sunsets on Earth, some blazingly brilliant, some boringly bland. Her first sunset on a new planet would be one that she would never forget. Vaughn didn't know what he was eating, but it didn't matter. It smelled fantastic and it tasted great. All he knew was that, well, some parts of the animal he had yet to encounter, and that was the tastiest bits, and they were a little bit questionable. I wouldn't have too many of those, said Bertrand, nibbling on his prickly penelope still, unless you think that your stomach can handle it. Vaughn lifted an eyebrow. Thanks for the tip. Bertrand smiled. Ah, your royal welcome has finally arrived. Let the parade begin. At the end of the Outer's Bazaar stood a large white skelfulton, and with 3 tusks protruding high into the sky. It was so wide that it forced the market goers to scatter into side passages and squeeze between vendors. When the skelfulton began a procession, it was well known that the Zenu had arrived. Am I expected to bow and shift? Asked Vaughn, eyeing Bertrand's prickly penelope. That's not really my vibe. No. Just don't make eye contact, said Bertrand. Legend has it that if you lock eyes with Zenu, he'll turn you to stone. So, he's your planet's Cleopatra? Okay, dude. Vaughn laughed. Bertrand laughed too, and then quickly stopped. Myrna's stern glare bore a deep hole inside of him. Jokes about Zenu were considered poor taste. What's the deal with Zenu anyway? Asked Sean. Why is he so special? Bertrand chuckled to himself. He wondered the same thing about the short, scrawny humans Zenu and the Mackinnon Council decided to save. Perhaps they weren't so different after all. Zenu's the reason that we're all still alive, said Bertrand, watching Myrna closely. He's the reason this planet has gone undetected for so long. Life is good here. Deshaun, every vendor in the market felt very artificial, a little too happy, a little too eager. Everyone seemed too good to be true. Everyone but Bertrand. As the sun inched closer to the horizon, the darkness slowly crept in. The tents and the outer's bazaars lit up, twinkling brighter than the stars overhead. More of your friends are about to join us, said Myrna, gazing towards the desert. Perfect timing as nightfall is upon us. As Captain Brian wanted to greet the crew, part of him was fixed on the Skelfulton, wondering if it only had one speed. It was sluggishly slow, occasionally standing tall on its back two legs, asserting its presence with a deep, guttural roar. I think I found popcorn, said Reimer, nudging Fizzy, or at least the closest Mackinnon equivalent. You want some? Fizzy peered into the bag and cringed. It looked nothing like popcorn. You're a brave, brave man, Fizzy said. The rest of the S2TM crew wandered into the bazaar, cautiously eating and drinking whatever smelled delicious and looked edible. It's time, said Myrna, watching the Skelfulton head towards the Sentinel Square, the heart of the bazaar. Zenu and the Mackinnon Council will be ready to meet you soon. Is everyone from your crew accounted for? Yep, looks like it, said Vaughn, devouring one of Bertrand's prickly pentaloupes. This is so friggin' good. I've never tasted anything like it. Berta led the crew to the Sentinel Square. Bertrand lingered close behind. He wasn't part of the Mackinnon Council, nor did he wish to be. Those that didn't belong but interfered in the council matters suffered fates far worse than death. Zenu, I bring you visitors from afar who are destined to stop Nifty and the Legion of Wind, said Myrna, dropping to one knee, bowing her head before Zenu. Please receive these guests as friends and bestow your limitless generosity upon them so that they can complete their mission. Vaughn looked at Bertrand. Thought you said no bowing. Bertrand grinned. I lied. Myrna slowly rose back up and stepped into the crowd. She felt the way that she always did when she delivered her visitors to her father. She was proud. Thank you, Myrna, said Zenu, walking towards Sean and Vaughn. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you to Mackinnon. As you have experienced, what is ours is yours. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt or be ungrateful, but we'd really like to find a way off this planet and get back on track. That's what we're all here to do. Now, I don't know what that looks like or what part of the gamble we're going to take, but I'd rather we just get to the point and push aside all of those formalities, Vaughn said. The crowd grew quiet. No one interrupted Zenu. No one. Read the room, buddy, whispered Sean. You're speaking out of turn. Vaughn shrugged it off. I don't know how much you know, but if we don't defeat Nifty, our planet, Earth, will be no more. Every second that we spend here is a second that we're not out there saving our world. The Skelfulton pounded its 2 feet against the cobblestone and roared with anger. Even the Skelfulton knew not to speak when Zenu was speaking with such force. Soft gasp echoed around the Sentinel Square as the widely respected leader straightened his posture before responding to the impatient commander. Commander Vaughn, this is why you're here. Zenu bellowed with a touch of irritation in his voice. This is why you're still alive. We are giving you a spaceship unlike any other, one which will take you to Simia and beyond. You know, just as well as I, that your previous vessel was not equipped to take you where you needed to go. With the spaceship that we're providing you, hunger will never be a concern. Warp speed travel, not an issue in the slightest. The communication system is years ahead most civilizations, including especially yours and Earth. The weapon system is so advanced that, should you need it, you'll be positioned to vaporize any space pirate that gets in your way. The spaceship has a navigation system unlike any that you've ever seen before. This, Commander Vaughn, this is a gift for the taking. There was something deep in Sean's stomach that just didn't feel right. It felt like Zenu's promises came with a catch or a lopsided compromise. We also want you to pass on the technology that we have been able to create to protect our planet, said Zenu. There are others out there who would benefit from this level of protection. A system that we would have not been able to create had it not been for the Theoluvians. Ringbolt, could you please step forward? The crowd parted to make room for a large, hard shelled creature that looked like it had been through its fair share of wars. That's one turtle I don't want to mess with, said Captain Degenerate, eyeing its protective armor, enamored by the gold ring hanging from a white string wrapped around its left arm. Over the next few days, as we prepare your vessel, you will learn from Ringbolt and his team. It is no coincidence that you found us, but right now we are running short on time. We will do all that we can to prepare you. After all, it is the Mackinnon way. Zenu clasped his hands and bowed to the crowd. Captain Glorious looked up to the stars. The depth of the darkness made the stars look more spectacular, constellations that he had never seen. It reminded him that the stars and the stories told about them can only make sense from certain viewpoints. Those who call Mackinnon home probably have their own myths and legends about these certain star pairings and what they mean. To Captain Glorious, it was a blend of chaos and beauty, and everything in between. Have you seen Snazzy? Asked Rist, looking around the crowd. Thought that she'd be back by now. Commander Vaughn thought of the pitch black desert. If she's still out there, the city's lights will help her find her way. I'm really not that worried. Myrna and Bertrand looked at each other. They could hear the celebrity cries of the moon dragons and knew that Vaughn had been mistaken. Not all members of S2TM were accounted for.
Recruits, it's time for you to choose what you think happens next. Select 1 if you think Xenu and the Council can't be trusted and backstab the Shot to the Moon fleet. Select 2 if you think Snazzy makes a Moon Dragon friend. Select 3 if you think Commander Sean and Vaughn learn the ways of riding the Skelfolton.